Welcome aboard. I'm Captain Wayne Canning, and in this video I'm going to be talking about hurricane preparation for your boat. I've read a lot about hurricane preparation and I feel like some information may be missing. As a marine surveyor and cruising sailor, I've had a chance to see the aftermath of several hurricanes over the years. I have also been part of what insurance companies call CAT teams. The people who go in after a storm to assess the damage to their clients' properties. What I have learned is that much of the traditional information, although good, often overlooks some key information that could help prevent or at least minimize damage to your boat in a storm. With storms seemingly getting stronger and more frequent, it is more important than ever to really understand how boats get damaged and how to better prepare and protect your own boat. Sadly, some recommendations I've seen can actually make your boat less safe, or at best, not really help prevent damage. Admittedly, there are times when no amount of preparation can protect a boat, as seen in some recent storms in South Florida and the Bahamas. Once a storm gets above Cat 3, I have often found it comes down to luck whether a boat gets damaged or not. That said, good preparation can place the odds more in your favor and help reduce damage, even in the worst case. The very first thing to do is plan well before a storm is forecast. What will you do when a storm is headed your way? How will you prepare? Where are you going to keep the boat? These are all things most people never really think about until the last minute. Many owners will keep the boat in their home marina. Some will want to have their boat hauled out, and some insurance companies will cover all or part of the cost of hauling out. Some insurance companies even require the boat to be hauled for every named storm. Some marinas may require the boat to be removed from the marina during a named storm to help prevent damage to their docks. If this is the case, where will you move your boat to? If moving or hauling, spaces in most boat yards may be limited. Many marinas require an annual fee to hold a spot for you. Before any real plans can be made, you need to know what you will do and how you will do it when the forecast starts to look ominous. The first part of any good plan is deciding where you will keep the boat during a storm and pre-planning for that. As mentioned, some marinas will not allow you to stay, and some insurance will want you to haul out. If you're going to have to move your boat, the very first thing to consider is where will you go and how will you get the boat there. With a storm on the horizon, marinas get busy very fast, so having all arrangements set up in advance will be critical. Don't expect to call a marina a day before a storm is due and expect to slip or haul out. Call before any storms are predicted and have a spot reserved. Many marinas will charge a fee for this, but it may well be worth it. Because some insurance companies require the boat to be hauled out for any named storm, they may void the insurance if it is not hauled, basically leaving you no coverage at all. If you do not live local to where the boat is stored, do you have someone you can call to move it for you? A local friend or captain you can trust is best, but also have a backup just in case. When it comes where to keep the boat during a storm, there are a few choices, and each has its pros and cons. For most, the easiest option would be to keep the boat in its home slip or mooring. In-water docking can be good in that it allows easy access to the boat for storm prep. Many marinas are reasonably well protected from waves, but not all are. Fixed docks tend to be better in most storms. Many marinas with floating docks have had entire sections of the docks come loose like dominoes. In a situation like that, there is nothing that can be done to protect a boat as the docks pile together. Most fixed docks will have pilings on both sides of the boat, allowing the boat to be secured off the dock. Although I have seen dock rash from both types of docks, it is often more common on floating docks. I will talk later about how to secure the boat to the docks to avoid damage. Moorings can be one of the best places to be in a storm, providing the mooring is heavy, such as a large concrete block, heavy mushroom anchor, or a properly sized helical anchor. You would also want to know all the tackle was in good condition as well. Anchoring is also an option, but requires a fair amount of work to set up multiple anchors with a lot of scope. I do not really recommend simple anchoring unless there are no other options. The advantage to being on a mooring is that you don't have docks to bang into. Depending upon your location, channels and creeks that are deep and not too wide can allow the vessel to be secured on both sides of the waterway. The problem is finding a good creek or channel can be difficult. Most land on the sides of creeks and canals is now privately owned, and permission to secure on shore would be needed first. I recall one storm in Florida where most of the boats in the canals were damaged primarily from wind-blown clay shingles from the roofs of nearby houses, along with other building debris. When a storm is brewing, start early. This is perhaps one of the biggest mistakes most make. They simply wait too long before starting their preparation. Nobody wants to do a lot of preparation only for the storm to miss them or not be as bad as thought. I get this, but waiting too long can be a mistake. Once the wind starts to pick up, it can be much harder to do good preparation. This often results in not doing everything that should be done. I always considered it good practice to prep my boat even if the storm does not turn out bad. The more often you do it, the easier it gets. You may also learn what extra lines and equipment you may need to add to your storm inventory. Remember, before every storm there is a rush at most marine supply stores for lines and fenders, and inventory runs out fast. Watch the weather closely. Preparation should start at least one day before any storm-related winds are predicted, and this could be several days before the storm itself is predicted to make a landfall. There are some tasks that really need to be done before the wind picks up. Canvas and sails should always be removed early and can be hard to remove in gusty winds. I cannot count the number of boats I have seen where the only damage was to sails or canvas. Sails and canvas left up will add windage to the boat, placing greater loads on the lines, securing the boat in place. Windage is not good. It stresses dock lines and can increase the wind forces pushing the boat against docks and pilings. Wind force will affect a boat whether it is at dock, hauled out, or at a mooring. And let's not forget the damage that can occur to the sails and the canvas themselves. Even if your canvas is in need of replacement, and it might seem like a good time to get the insurance company to replace it, it is never a good idea to leave the canvas up. Roller furling jibs are probably one of the most common items damaged on a sailboat. I have never understood why so many owners leave these sails up. No matter how tightly you furl it and wrap lines around it, in a good blow at least part of the sail is likely to come loose. Once the wind catches even a small part of it, it will quickly take more. Not only does even a small section flapping in the wind cause damage to the sail, but it can also place high loads on the rig. I have seen this take down a whole rig. 30 minutes to remove the sail would have prevented the boat from being totaled. Along with roller furling jibs, mainsails should be removed as well. Mainsails can create a lot of windage even when furled, and I have seen some come loose and start to rise due to the wind pressure, further increasing windage and sail damage. Sails are not hard to remove and store below decks. Dinghies should be removed as well and stored on land if possible. Even if the drain plug is removed, it can clog, and a dinghy filled with water can damage davits or place heavy loads on deck. They also create more windage. As you can see, I stress reducing windage any way possible. Outboard motors should also be removed and stowed safely on land. Any other loose equipment on deck should be removed, including safety gear such as throwable man overboard devices, life rafts, and E-perps. EPIRBs, even if normally kept below deck, should be removed from the boat and stored ashore to prevent false alarms, wasting first responders' time when they are already very busy. Solar panels and wind generators should be removed if at all possible. If it is too difficult to remove solar panels, secure them with extra ropes. Wind generators, if difficult to remove, should have the blades secured to prevent spinning and the tails secured to prevent rotating. Any vents on deck or hull side should be covered with plastic, secured with either duct tape or good vinyl tape. Duct tape may leave glue residue, so vinyl tape may be better. Any opening that could let water into the boat should be covered. Secure all hatches and locker lids with their latches and additional lines or tape. For lockers that have padlock type latches, secure the latch with a wire top. Do not forget anchor locker lids as well. Leave spare dock lines and fenders in the cockpit or near the helm where they can be found and used by others if needed. Do not lock the boat, or at least leave the key where it can easily be found. If the boat needs to be pumped out by dock personnel or other helpful boaters, you want them to be able to get quick access. Leave the key for the engine in place as well. You never know if the boat will need to be moved quickly before or after the storm, and hopefully nobody is going to steal the boat during a storm. Well, at least let's hope not. Disconnect shore power and remove the shore cord. This will avoid the possibility of a fire should the cord start to pull loose or get wet from rain. Make sure the batteries are fully charged and all DC power turned off, except for, of course, the bilge pumps. If there are any perishable food in the refrigerators, remove it from the boat. Refrigerators will use up battery power, possibly needed for bilge pumps. Turn off any propane systems at the tank. The only thing worse than a storm is a fire during a storm. Obviously, securing the boat properly and having good fenders will also help prevent damage. There is a lot out there about using double dock lines and chafe protection. This is common sense, but there are a few things to think about when tying up that most do not consider. If your boat is a sailboat and in a slip next to another sailboat, will the masts align? If so, think about moving forward or aft or turning the boat around so that if either boat were to heel over, the masts would not hit. Even a very stiff boat will heel to the rail in a strong gust. While positioning in the slip, make sure the boat has at least 6 to 8 feet at either end for movement within the slip. Lines should be secured with enough room for major changes in water height. Most tend to think the water will rise, and this is valid. But I've seen water levels drop dramatically as well. It can be tricky to plan for both. With floating docks, this is not as difficult, but you would want to try to secure the boat off the dock if possible. Running lines to adjacent docks or pilings will help. Most do not take into consideration the amount a boat will heel in wind gusts, so keep this in mind as you secure. I've seen sailboats damaged well below the waterline by the rub rail of a sailboat next to it. Powerboats can also heel a lot in strong gusts, so this needs to be planned for. When securing lines to the dock, do not assume cleats will hold. I've seen many cleats ripped out of the dock when stressed. A better option is to tie to pilings if possible. Another drawback to floating docks is there is often no choice but to tie to the cleats on the dock and hope for the best. The only other option would be to wrap a line all the way around the dock, which can be very hard to do. Of course, chafe protection is always a good thing, but try to rig lines to avoid chafing in the first place. If securing to a piling, wrap the line around the piling twice. This will prevent movement and chafe. Avoid hard or sharp turns in the line, as this creates hard points for chafing. Although the trend is to use double braided lines, 3-strand nylon often works better as it allows stretch with jerking loads found in storms. When double tying, try to avoid placing both lines on the same location, both on the dock and on the boat. My experience has been the attachment point often fails before the line. Heeling should also be planned for when setting fenders. Most tend to position fenders with the boat in a static level position, only to have damage above or below the fenders. Make sure the lines securing the fenders are in good condition. Never secure a fender to lifelines, as this could damage the lifelines should the fender get caught under a dock. If there are boats docked next to yours without a dock or piling in between them, set fenders on both sides of the boat. Of course, the bigger the better when it comes to fenders. Use heavy fender boards to protect against pilings. Fenders often fail when things get very rough or the boat rubs hard on the dock. They are often just pushed out of position, leaving the boat exposed. Keep this in mind when setting fenders. I do not have any first-hand experience with the newer inflatable fenders, often referred to as rafting fenders. From what I have read, they are good and very tough, but care needs to be used around sharp objects on the dock. They are also lighter than traditional fenders and could easily be blown out of position. Used tires can also be used and work well. After all, tugs and other commercial vessels use them. You do not have to worry about them being punctured. Their weight will also help keep them in place. I have found keeping a boat on land is not much safer than staying in the water. There are some serious wind loads on a boat out of the water. Powerboats with high sides and cabins make for a large side profile. For sailboats, they are often blocked higher due to the keel and have a lot of windage from the mast. Some yards can also be flooded, further adding to problems. Do everything possible to reduce windage as mentioned. If a sail comes loose in the wind, it can easily knock a boat from its stands. Do not trust the yard to properly block and secure the boat. They are often in a rush with a storm coming and may have a long backlog of boats to be hauled. The boat should have extra stands that are tightly secured to the stand on the opposite side of the boat. The stands themselves need to be in good condition and not badly rusted. If the yard is dirt or gravel, plywood pads should be placed under the stands. The pads on the jack stands themselves should be in good condition. Broken pads can result in a stand puncturing the hull. All blocking and other supports should be in good condition as well. I've seen some yards half bury or at least sink the keel into a hole in the ground. This can be a good way to prevent a boat from tipping over. However, I do not know any yards still doing this, as it leaves large holes in the yard after the storm is over. There is also the possibility of the yard being flooded by storm surge or rain, which could cause the boat to float out of the hole or cause the ground to collapse around the keel, making the boat difficult to remove. If the boat is secured to the ground, open hooks should not be used, and no more than 2 straps should be secured to any one anchor. If the boat has a drain plug, it should be removed to prevent flooding or sinking on land. If lacking a drain plug, find a low seacock and remove the hose, leaving the valve open. This will be a drain if the bilge pumps fail and the bilge fills up. Storms can provide a large amount of rain, and I have seen many boats flooded on land from this. Screens should be placed over cockpit and deck drains to help prevent clogging from wind-blown debris. Finally, make sure to keep track of the weather. I called a client once to check with them about storm prep as a hurricane was predicted in just a couple of days. His response was, "Oh, there's a storm coming?" Being aware of the weather is your first defense. Storm prediction has improved over the years, but is not 100% accurate. Never assume anything when it comes to hurricanes. This includes storm strength and heading. I have seen hurricanes do some surprising maneuvers, including making a full 360-degree turn before making landfall. There also seems to be a trend for storms to spin up and increase in strength shortly before making landfall. Always assume the worst and prepare for that. Hopefully some of this often overlooked advice will help you in preparing for any possible storms. I strongly recommend exploring other sources for more information and anything that I may have missed. Remember, watch the weather even when it's nice out. Plan well ahead and know just how to plan and prepare. Hurricanes are not a matter of if, but a matter of when. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments section below. This way, everyone can join the discussion and learn. If you like this video, please subscribe and hit thumbs up, as this helps with my YouTube rankings. Also, please consider joining my Patreon page, where for a small monthly fee, you get to see all of my videos without commercials, and you get other member benefits. Your support will help keep me producing more useful content. Thanks for watching, and remember, the fun never stops when you own a boat.